everybody. You know, I get a lot of comments with people saying, why are you disturbing the dead? Leave them in peace. And this last one, they were saying, why are you disturbing the dead? And she went on, and this comment was so vile, really, you know, and it's just amazing that people are feeling like the work I do is disturbing the dead, and yet, you know, the words, these toxic words that are put out there, they're not concerned about who they're disturbing here at all on this plane. You know, who cares? Let's just throw out the most vile, toxic, nasty thing that comes to mind. You know, and I will tell you that that does disturb the atmosphere for sure. You know, I'm not going to change what I'm doing here by any words. And that's just, you know, because if I want to give up this work, I do. It doesn't matter when the time comes. But, you know, if I want to put out a video, I will put one out. A lot of the videos that are put out, people have requested. Okay, so they come out, this last one. So, you know, I don't know what to say, but let's look at this a little bit deeper. I do have an image of the Tibetan Book of the Dead up on my screen, which is a Buddhist text, very potent. And we will see what kind of reading comes from this, okay? But first of all, let's ask, am I disturbing the dead with this work I'm doing? Okay, right now the pendulum is very heavy. There's a very heavy no to this. Okay. Because what I've noticed is that if one of the spirits does not want to speak, they will not be available, or they will say they don't want to speak. Okay, so you can see it's changing to a yes. And then what can you do? You know, either what the story is going to come out where there's some words that come from that spirit or some history or whatever, but if they don't want to speak, it just won't come out. You know, you can't pull it out if someone, you know, it's like when someone wants to not speak here, if they just want to keep their mouth shut, they're going to keep it shut. You can't make people talk. It's the same kind of thing. It's no different. All right, so is this creating harm for the dead, this work I'm doing? No, you know, and I have talked about having, there was a time, and during the blood moon phase here, and it was probably went on for a good year at least, if not longer, where I had a lot of spirits around me, and even when I asked them to leave me alone, they wouldn't. Okay, so they can't even disturb me. All right, let's see if this is true. Yes, okay, they did. So, you know, it's just, it's what it is, and I'm just, you know, saying, okay, on this other side, I'm not, but I know I am not disturbing the dead in any means, okay? So, no, I am not. It's showing. All right, because, you know, sometimes, and let's see if this is true, with some of this work, or maybe that mediums do or whatever, and check in with spirits, they may have a message they want to put out there, you know, and use it in words that can be understood on this plane. Let's see if this is true. Okay, so see, you can see this is right. Okay, other times there may be some messages put out, you know, just to give a feeling of whatever's happening with that soul, where they're at. And, you know, that's all that one can say. And this is not something that has to be done, this work. It's just, you know, I enjoy energy, and this, the way that the pendulum and these connections have come about are a surprise to me. And you know, if anyone benefits and it is revealing, it seems to be for some, then, you know, great, that's all. And it could be given up to at any time. Okay, so now that we went through that, let's take a peek at this Tibetan Book of the Dead and see what comes from that. It might be interesting. I don't have any questions right now in mind, but you never know what might come up. Okay, so this is a text that details the intermediary stage between death and rebirth in the next life. Okay, and this is called the bardo realm. The bardo is that intermediary phase in which one is, called afterlife, really. Okay, so this is saying yes. Okay, so what I'm seeing in my mind then is one traverses that realm. There is, I see colors in my mind. I see that dragon fire. Okay, there's going to be some fears. Whatever is there in consciousness is going to come forward. And then it, one goes through those realms, dream states. Okay, whatever one left with, this is going to still be in place as an energetic pattern. And, it doesn't just, you can't just snap your fingers and it goes away, these patterns, this energy. It's there or it's not. It's moving in this direction or another, but these things will continue. Right, so this is what this Tibetan Book of the Dead is. In one, there's a guide, that may work with those that have just passed on and help to, through whatever means, by chanting and instruction, guide them through the bardo realm into, what would be called Rigpa, or the clear light of enlightenment. Okay, so this is part of this practice in working with this. Okay, what else is coming with this in terms of spirits that have passed over? Okay, let's see. Okay, so souls that go into those bardo realms are stripped of whatever world they came from, that solidity of that world, and move out into these various realms. But sometimes, let's see if this is true, people still feel like they are in that same state, even in terms of physicality. Okay, so this is saying it's true, because that feeling is more energetic when one gets that, it's what one has attached to, being a persona in a physical body. So many times this feeling, this energy is going to remain, because this has to do with consciousness. As the body is inert, it doesn't have any holdings in it. The holdings come through energy or consciousness, and this is what continues to transmigrate or go forward. Okay, so I just see a lot of bands, a lot of strips, a lot of levels, colors. Like I say, that a dragon, like which means more all of the either a protector or one that is menacing. And so one, when they do encounter these various states, is to, if they do have enough clarity to not get caught up in fear and things then, and to stay balanced, and all that one is asked to do, or this is what the spiritual path requires too. Okay, so it's no different, and this is why it's always said to, go through this journey while in body. So let's see if it's easier while in body. It is in many ways, because there's that grounding, there's more of a perceptual connections seem more, the word would be solid, but they're just, it's not that really light, more subtle. It's not on a subtle energy as much. So one can really, those lessons can be learned quicker. They are also felt very deeply, pain, sorrow, And as one goes out into the ether, so let's see if it's harder then to, awaken once you've actually lost the body. Is it harder? Okay, so you can see there's a yes. Although the perceptual shifts, the consciousness changes, all of these are exactly the same. And this is really what we call then Kundalini. The Kundalini journey is going through the bardo realms while in body. And this is a yes. And this is exactly what Kundalini is. Okay. So, and then you do enter that Rigpa, clear light, or enlightenment while in body. People can awaken after the body, right, when it passes. This is possible. Let's see if it's harder after that. Okay, so there is a yes to that, until another body comes, and then there's another opportunity there, which doesn't mean there's still not lessons to be learned once the soul passes. Okay, so there are. And this is why one can connect with souls on the other side that have not yet entered a body, or at least to get a sense of where they're at. Some do mature during that phase. Okay, there is some flowering there, certainly, because there's a lot of spirits available to give nourishment, to give instruction, and also there's other levels. So there's the lokas, which are the light realms, the heavenly realms. It's just all of it is there. All of it is there. Okay, and so when one then comes back into a body after being in these bardo realms, then they will for the most part, their memory goes of their past lives. Okay, there's a yes, so this has not stopped saying yes, and this is to shut down that, so you can prepare for the new lessons, although those lessons do remain within your energy field. They do continue to move through whatever's happened prior. And so one can go forward. Whatever progress they've made, is that lost? Okay, so one can see no. So any spiritual progress made, and you can see is not lost. Now there's kind of a heaviness coming into the pendulum. So let's see what it's going to do. Okay. Okay, so it moves. Okay, so there's just moving energy, shifting phases, various states is what it's saying. Speaking of the bardos, bardo realms, transcending. Okay, there's still that potential there in the bardo realms. Also regression. Okay, so all of it is still there, and okay, so when spirits are there, then there is that potential, as we talked about, to connect with them. And so this is a lot why the the Buddhist masters do sit there by the dead, and they do chant. They do give instruction. Okay, they will sometimes do it right in their ear, as a means to, which would be the ear of the corpse, really, as a means, that's like a funnel to go send that energy out into consciousness. Okay, so let's see if all the different religions, do they sometimes attempt to connect with different spirits? Are there any that do not, have never done this? Okay, so no. And sometimes it comes spontaneous for people. Like I say here, it just happened. It just opened up. And it's been there for a long time, but it just came out in a big flood. Okay, it was unexpected. It was unbidden. And within every religion does this happen to people. Okay, does it happen to people that are not on a spiritual path? Yes. So, it happens. And so it's not like many that do. Then, of course, there's a lot of charlatans. Okay. So I can ask, is the work I do, is that fake? Is that fraudulent? Okay, so one can see it changes to no. And, there are many fraudulent ones out there, for sure. And, it is something to, keep alert to, certainly. You don't want to be taken in by things, you don't want to put a lot of money or invest in a lot of things that does seem shady, with these things. But in terms of making the connections with spirits that have passed over, this has gone on for forever. I mean, Native Americans do it, okay? They've done it. It's a natural thing. Aboriginals, natural. Okay, it's not like it's question or someone saying, why are you doing that, or you're this, or why are you disturbing the dead? Does this ever happen within that culture? Those cultures, no. Okay, this is just a common thing, actually. It's common. And, okay, so there's many, again, whatever people want to say, they can say. But it is what it is. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else of import while we are connecting to this book, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Anything more of import? Kind of floating around now. It feels like maybe, like a floating spirit. And it feels very light. Okay, so what this really is resonating of is the work here, and whatever, whatever the chanting, the instruction is to awaken, okay, awaken. And this is really the main key to do this. And one now has an opportunity to do it. So this would be good to begin on your journey to awakening now, by whatever means that are actually effective, okay? And by effective, this means it's stilling, it's balancing. A lot of the things that one was constantly ruminating about, or got so worked up and lathered up about, you may have a spark of that, or that seems to be dying down. You may feel it for a little bit, but it doesn't, the mind doesn't keep chewing on it. Okay, there's more calm to the mind through all things. There's detachment. Okay, so these would be some clues that one is truly, whatever methods one is using, it is actually balancing, that you're not justifying, you're not trying to fool yourself, you're actually really looking at the ego and whatever workings are in there. You're really brave enough to take a real good look at it without feeding ego, in terms of the ups and downs and the in-betweens. So this means a detaching and witnessing and letting these things flush out. Find some practices that work, whatever works. Now, in terms of Buddhist practices, is this a good one for people that are, pretty lost and looking all over for something to bring balance and things? This, like loving kindness, or some of the chants, or finding a sangha. Is this like a good start for people? Okay, you can see there's a yes there. Okay, compared to a lot of things that are on the net where people are just grabbing on to whatever practices. Okay, let's see what happens there. Okay, so it does come down a bit. You're never going to find anything perfect, but it is still resonating as yes. Okay, so is mixing practices a good thing? Okay, so one can see that this, no. Okay, and then there's a skewing because it does create imbalance. So if you're picking and choosing and putting a bunch of stuff in one basket and going to this and that, really you're just going to pick and choose whatever feels good to you. So it's always best to try to put all of your effort into one direction that feels okay. And then when that changes course, the next thing will open up. And a lot of, you know, some of this, like I say, that, you know, to find maybe a place where you can practice some Buddhism in your neighborhood is a good thing. And, you know, it's pretty family oriented and things, and you just can sit there maybe once or twice a week and do some chanting and open your heart. You know, this certainly isn't going to hurt anything. You know, but go by your gut and make sure it does feel okay to you. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else here that's like of import. Okay, so it is saying no. So thank you everybody for tuning in this evening. Have a great night. Bye-bye now.